Happy Sunday. Nothing like a hot cup of tea, is there? Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Welcome to this spooky, spectacular... I've never been able to take Halloween seriously. It just seems all a bit silly saying it. It seems a bit silly saying it, doesn't it? that was a T powered S. Good morning, Mark. Hey, Lucy. Hey, everybody. Happy Halloween Eve, I guess. Hallows Eve, if that's even a thing. I love that at Christmas. Don't you love that at Christmas when you get Christmas Eve? That becomes like a thing. And I love Christmas so much that I like having Christmas Eve. Oh, I've said the C word. I'm so sorry, so early on a Sunday. Anyway, Lucy's got her Jez Rose tea. Now, I have gone a little bit off-piste today. I don't mind if you go a little bit off-piste as well. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. I have gone for Earl Grey, and I'll explain why in a second. I'm pairing it with Cake the Review, the Cake of the Week. And I do love, there's just something about every now and again, a little bit of Earl Grey. So, welcome to this Halloween special of Sunday Elevenses live. It is me, it's Jez Rose, it's live, which means absolutely anything could happen. So, first of all, let's address the clocks going back. Just to double check, because I suspect there may or may not have been a few people trying to log in at 10 a.m. this morning and saying, where is he? But, also, the clock's going back. Can I just say, oh no, wait. No, they won't. They'll be logging in at noon, won't they? And saying, where is he? And then realizing that it's not 11. Is that right? Why do we even do this? I think I've said this before. Was it in a podcast or something? We had this chat already, guys, about the clocks going back and why. And it was something to do with having an extra hour because of the season changes for like harvesting and stuff like that. So instead of the days being really short, they put the clocks back so you catch the morning light, which means you get, a fuller day for when you're farming and stuff. I mean, absolutely irrelevant for today, I would imagine, because, tractors have lights and they floodlit whole fields and there's, crop rooms with lights and artificial stuff in it, so completely irrelevant. But anyway, why was I saying that? Oh yes, the puppy. So let me just tell you that it is impossible to benefit from the hour going back with a puppy who doesn't understand the hour going back. So at 6:20 was saying, hello, I would like a wee and some food, please. So I'm going to look like this thing by the time I finished it. Anyway, I'm going to get started with this. Lucy says we've had an extra hour in bed. I know. All right, thanks for rubbing it in. I haven't. It's a little bit difficult with puppy. But I did find today, I thought this was kind of cute. What is happening here? I have like a thing happening on my laptop. I don't know. Anyway, Halloween. I did realise I didn't actually know what the history of Halloween was or what the history of the whole pumpkin thing was. So I looked it up, and I thought looking it up would be a little bit interesting. Anyway, it's like a 2,000-year-old ceremony that dates back to the Samhain Celtic group of the festival, Celtic festival of Samhain, like 2,000 years ago, where they would celebrate the changing of the seasons, where it became darker and towards winter, and that's where they believed that that marked a kind of period of death for them, I guess, because of everything dying around us in nature. And so it was designed to ward off ghosts and evil spirits, and they would sort of light bonfires and dress up and stuff. So, and then 2,000 years later, we're buying an awful lot of plastic and throwing it away, which I'm going to come to in a second. But I have never, ever carved a pumpkin, and up until about 9 o'clock last night, I was feeling pretty confident about this whole pumpkin carving malarkey, right? I mean, it's a pumpkin, how difficult can it be? And I'm thinking I just sort of, stab in some jaggedy bits and then cut it out, and then you sort of stab it in and you put a candle in it, and that's it, right? Then Mark of Mark Viewing fame, hey Jim, good to see you, showed me some of his pumpkins, which are nothing short of epic. So now I feel like a bit of an idiot even attempting this. And I probably should have Googled it. I probably should have asked Mark, because clearly he's done an awful lot of it before. I probably should have done, some other things. But I don't know what I'm going to do. So as I talked to you about Halloween, I'm just going to hack this pumpkin apart. But it does sort of link in with, oh gosh, they're quite tough, aren't they? And interestingly, yesterday, I bought this from my next door neighbour because he grows them. But I had to go to Co-op yesterday to go and get something. And I'm doing this freehand, which probably isn't recommended, is it? I would imagine you're probably supposed to like draw on it or something. But anyway, and I saw a pumpkin that was specifically a carving pumpkin. So there are two different types of pumpkin, a normal pumpkin and then a carving pumpkin. I don't really understand what the difference is between the two. I don't know whether it's a carving pumpkin hollow or something. I don't know, or maybe just like doesn't taste as nice. I don't know. However, we should sort of, as I'm hacking this apart, and this could be sort of reminds me of the opening scenes of Casualty, doesn't it? Just what could possibly go wrong as he butchers a pumpkin with a carving knife? One tip: don't use a knife. Why are you saying that now? I mean, I'm hard. Why not? Well, I'm not going to use a spoon, am I? What am I going to use if I don't use a knife? I suppose there's some special pumpkin. Oh gosh, yeah, it does slip, doesn't it? Some pumpkin carving tool. Anyway, one thing we should address is, of course, the waste. I mean, there is an epic amount of waste at Halloween. And it's interesting, we spoke about this the other day, didn't we, when I was talking about buying my Christmas crackers and how I sort of decided actually at the last minute, I'm not going to. As much as I love a Christmas cracker, it just all seems a bit of a waste of money and a bit of a, environmental waste as well, because we end up throwing so much away. But there is some epic stuff you can make with pumpkins, like the inside of the pumpkin, the flesh. Of course, if you save all the seeds, dry them out on a little bit of kitchen towel, then you've got roasted pumpkin seeds. If you roast them, toss them in a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of butter and put them, in a little bit of frying pan, a little bit of salt and pepper, and they can be cold or you can have them warm. I'm not doing overly well with this. Gosh, it takes a while, doesn't it, to get around to the edge? This is not at all uniform. And then the flesh, of course, you've got pumpkin soup and pumpkin pie and all of that kind of pumpkin stuff. Mark, I need you to come back to me with this whole not using a knife thing. Like, what am I supposed to be using a knife thing? You just left it. Please be careful. Don't just sit and watch you cut your finger off. Yeah, I know, right? I know. Pumpkin soup, absolutely gorgeous. And then, of course, there's the actual pumpkin itself. So what they provide brilliant uses for after you've used them is a planter. You can use them to plant in. You can put your compost in the bottom. It'll all rot down, of course, but put a little bit of compost in the bottom and then put some seeds in. You've got this kind of odd, life-death thing. As this rots away into the ground, then you get the seeds growing out of it as well, which is really cute too. Mark says, get one of those carving kits. They have little saws that don't slip. You can get the cheap from supermarkets and places like that. Right now, probably not the best time to tell me that. I've just realised, so what I've done is I've started... Can't believe this. We might be skipping on to something else. What I've done is I've cut this like zigzaggedy line all the way around the top here, because I figured that's what they have, right? Have these little hats. But I've realised obviously that's attached to everything inside it. So it's not just going to lift off, is it? So I guess, what do you do? Do you need to cut the bottom off maybe and scoop out all the stuff from the inside, so you're left with the shell? Mark, quickly, please, type. There's a delay. I don't really know what I'm doing with that. Anyway, listen, so I'm drinking this Earl Grey today because of Little Cake Review. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Now, don't forget your Elevenses discount. Of course, there is an exclusive discount for people watching Elevenses. The word Elevenses, absolutely anything in the shop, 11% off. You're welcome. But before we do that, I want to get into Little Cake Review this week because it's a little bit spooky and a little bit epic. I have to shout the praises of this bakery. They're really good. So let's have Little Cake Review. Yummy, yum. So there is a little bakery that has opened up near us called the Cornish Bakery, which is perhaps somewhat ironic because they're not in Cornwall or anywhere near Cornwall. and I thought it was independent. It's got that really lovely, personal, rusticy sort of feel about it. And then I Googled them. There's actually quite a few all over the country. So they're kind of treading that a kind of odd space where it is a chain, but it doesn't feel like a chain, and it's really nice. So, hang on, wait. Kath's saying, Riverford have been running a brilliant series of stories this week, encouraging people to use squash and just decorate them rather than carving and wasting. That's a really nice idea. Because, of course, as soon as you cut into it, it starts to degrade. So it's all very well, you know, cutting into it and stuff, but you've got to use it. And you have to use it kind of now. Although pumpkin does freeze, it just goes very, very mushy, because of course it's got a very high water content. So if you're going to freeze it for anything, then think more kind of soups and liquid stuff afterwards. Mark says you need to cut very deep into the pumpkin. I usually cut a circle out the top. Okay, right. Oh, Kath's got walnut and marmalade cake in the oven, everyone. Hello. So anyway, Cornish Bakery, all over the country, they do amazing, I mean epic pastel donata. Now, I bought this little number for today because I thought it was a little bit Halloween-y, and they do some really, really lovely stuff. Tastes like nowhere else. Oh, you can shop online at thecornishbakery.com. Oh, that's quite interesting to know. This little box here, it says, freshly baked before the seagulls wake, and you need to as well. So this is it's not a Halloween cake, but it kind of reminded me of Halloween because it sort of looks mouldy. It's like it's a bit for Woody. Can you see that? It's got pistachio. Oh, God. Woody's asleep in his crate, fortunately, because he's just there. And if he wasn't asleep in his crate, he'd be all over this. It's sort of got roasted pistachios on top, but some of the pistachios have always got a little bit of skin on, so you get this kind of green and purpley effect. And this is a polenta, lemon polenta cake, I think, with something else in it. So now, polenta is one of those enigmas I'm really never sure about, because it's flipping amazing when you fry it. If you get, I'll tell you what I'm never good with. You know, you can get polenta in a packet and you can sort of mix it up. What a faff. It never tastes as good as ready-made polenta. It looks like a bit like halloumi. It comes in a solid block, and you slice it, and if you put loads of salt and pepper or a little bit of seasoning like za'atar or sumac or something like that, fry it in a frying pan, it's absolutely epic. But this is, of course, polenta cake, and it's sort of the forgotten grain, isn't it? Like you rarely hear or see anything about polenta unless you're veggie, in which case you probably use it a lot. So you get this lovely bright yellow golden colour, looks like golden syrup, and it's like, oh wow, it is so moist and sticky. It's got a little bit of lemon zest in there, but it is, oh wow, there's a sweetness. It is so Moorish. And the reason, oh wow, that is really good. The reason I bought it, I mean really, you're gonna have to wait. And I paired it with this Earl Grey, is because the bergamot in the Earl Grey just goes brilliantly with that lemon citrus and the pistachio. I don't even like pistachio, so anyway, that is the perfect Elevenses little treat, that. So that's good. Kath says I need to look back at the expression on my face as I almost dropped your cake. Okay, I'll look back at that. That might be something for the thumbnail for YouTube. You won't be able to see this because the camera does a weird focus thing when I put it towards it, but I highly recommend this. I don't know if you can, it says shop online, so I guess you could get it sent to you. I don't know how that works. thecornishbakery.com. If you can find one, so good, guys. Definitely break in and steal them all. Won't do that. Definitely go and support them. Those are amazing. Absolutely, that's incredible. So, anyway, back to this. So Mark says I can just like prise it open. Now, when I was reading up on which I'm going to try and do. Oh, he was right. Hey, gang, Mark's amazing. Look at this. Mark should do like look at that. It's doing it. Oh, guys, look. Oh, it's my first pumpkin with you guys. Isn't that really cool? And there it is. And what's really nice is, gosh, that's really pumpkin-y. Is that right? Is that how they normally, I mean, I know it sounds like a stupid thing to say, but it's like when you go out sometimes, it's raining and you go, oh, it's really wet, isn't it? Gosh, that is really pumpkin-y. I think that's the cool thing about having bought it from my next door neighbour is that it's like a real proper, honestly, it's like living next door to the good life. They are so lovely. So now, I guess what you do is you scoop all of this out. This is the flesh. But actually this middle bit is a bit like a melon. It's the stuff that normally people waste because it's all of this sort of stringy stuff that formed the pumpkin in the first place. All of this kind of mushy flesh. So just separate the seeds, make sure you keep the seeds. And of course, they are pumpkin seeds. So if you want to grow pumpkins next year, absolutely save them, dry them and store them. But it's this wedgy bit, it's the thick stuff all round, which is the flesh. And that's the stuff that you want to use like a potato peeler or a spoon and gently move out. And if you can keep it in chunks, you can roast it just like butternut squash, and it's utterly glorious. I tell you what I've never made is pumpkin pie. I'd love to do that. I should have done that next time. Mark says, wait till you put a candle in it, sort of cooks it and you get a lovely sweet smell. Oh, really nice. Can't wait for that. That's happening later. So I'm going to carry on sort of doing this. I don't know whether to go a bit abstract, and because that sort of looks a little kind of sinister, doesn't it? I quite like. Did you like my little pumpkin thing yesterday, by the way? Just a little thought. Anyway, listen. Last week, while I'm sort of hacking away at this a little bit, I ran out of time, so I didn't get time to do my big idea. And my big idea, I think, probably has a little bit of. Actually, before I do big idea, can we talk about Christmas? I am so flipping excited about Christmas. It is, I mean, it's almost not normal. It is, I'm just so excited. Christmas last year wasn't exactly a lovely Christmas. And Marley was very sort of old and unwell as well. I think there was a sort of sense of foreboding a little bit last time as well. But if I always mark on YouTube to say that these aren't suitable for kids, just in case, because it gives me a little bit of artistic license and freedom. But can I just say that if you are watching this at home, absolutely do not copy this. This seems like the most lethal thing to do. So my ambulance service background may well come in handy very shortly. Oh, Kath says pumpkin pie is a bit of a faff to make. You have to sieve the pulp so it's really smooth. Well, you know, sometimes you're up for that, aren't you? And other times you're not. I find that with baking a lot, that sometimes you get, you think, oh yeah, I've got the capacity to do that today. And other times you think, oh, get me a bloody takeout. By the way, on the subject of takeaway, I am really busy designing some cool stuff for you guys at the minute, and some new content and some quite interesting things. And the other night, I just couldn't be bothered to cook it. It got to the point where it was so late, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to see if I can get takeout. Anyway, I'm so far in the sticks now that, I mean, I thought being at the farm was bad. Well, there's nobody that will that will come deliver. And then when I finally did find somebody who said they'd come and deliver, they then sent me a text message about 10 minutes later to say, we haven't got anybody. So didn't happen. Look at that, that's my first moustache bit. It just needs a little bit of tidying up, but there it is. It's a little Halloween moustache. I quite like this. Gang, I'm really into this. We should have done this, shouldn't we? Carol says Woody and the Christmas tree. Believe me, I mean, that sounds like a kid's book waiting to happen. I've thought long and hard about Woody and the Christmas tree. But you know what? He is such a sensitive little soul and such a quick learner that I think, you know, a few times of leave it, you're going to be absolutely fine. I mean, so listen, what do you do? Oh, you might not even do it. I'm assuming that some of you guys do the pumpkin thing, but what do you do? And also, can we have like a little chat about the whole trick or treat thing? Isn't that weird? I mean, it is basically organised begging. So, I don't really understand where that came from. Probably should have looked that up, but I didn't. So what's your tactic? Are you a lights off, pull the curtains, pretend no one's in kind of tactic and just ignore the knocking? Or are you a little sign that says, please don't trick or treat? Or, you know, is it a bucket of cold water by the door job? What? Tell me. Because I think I'd like to, you know, there's a bit of me that wants to join in. Don't get me wrong. You know, a bit of me that thinks, oh, you know, maybe I'll, you know, knock on the door and I'll say, oh, what have you come as, you know? And I don't know. They'll say SpongeBob SquarePants or something ridiculous like that. Or I don't know. I'll come to the door dressed in like all of the mum's white makeup and a sheet, and I'll say, oh, you don't look very well. And they'll say, no, I'm supposed to be dead, mister, or something like that. But what's the kind of general, you know, jazz with with that. I don't know what I guess there's an etiquette, is there? I guess there's sort of something that we should, do you have to put like a thing out? Is it, oh, hang on a minute, isn't it that if you have a pumpkin out by the front door, that means you're okay, you're up for it, and if you don't have one, you don't like it? Is that the deal? Sarah's out trick-or-treating with her kids. Oh, amazing. That'll be fun. Wait. God, they're coming in thick and fast here. Matthew says, 364 days of telling kids not to speak to strangers, then one day send them knocking, begging for sweets. That's exactly what it is. Oh, dear. That is very true. Mark says he sits in the back room, but he lives in a close and no one seems to knock anyway. Oh. Or if you do, you get excited because you think it's the mailman. Carol says the rule here is if there's no pumpkin out or Halloween decorations, you don't knock. Oh, that's very true. Yeah, just don't knock on random doors. I mean, isn't that sort of a shame in some ways that that's now the society that we live in, that, well, I guess we sort of always lived in that society. We just we were less aware of it, right? I think this is coming on all right, It's sort of all right. I mean, that's a moustache, isn't it? Does that look like a moustache? I'll have to clean up the black bits, the marker pen. But I think it's kind of moustachey, isn't it? I've just realised, Mark, that when I put that on, I can't have that on at the same time, can I? I'll have to have it on like that or something because of the candle in it. Isn't gonna. You won't be able to have that on because it just burn, won't it? Jim's a turn the lights off kind of person. Alexa going off saying someone's at the door always sets the cats off. Sets the cats off? What do cats do when someone knocks on the door? Oh, yeah, Kath's that's exactly the same. I've always wanted carol singers. Do you know what? Who's to blame for that? It's Richard Curtis. That's that Love Actually. That's the problem there. We're doing a brilliant film like Love Actually later on this year. I can't wait to show you that. There's some really exciting stuff happening in a minute. Anyway, this is the most of this Elevenses cake I think I've ever eaten with these. Right, big idea, gang. I missed it last week. Here's this week's big idea. So, imagine for me that somebody hands you a box. It doesn't matter whether you know them or not, but you're handed a box. Inside that box is everything you have ever lost. What's inside your box? It's a really interesting thing to think about. It could be physical things like a pound coin or a, underwear that you never found, or that one sock that bloody irritates everybody all the time. But also if it is integrity and a sense of comfort or calm. And I was thinking the other day how interesting that would be to explore and to think about, what would be in that box. But the most important thing I think that would be more interesting is what can you do to get some of it back? And, how do you get back the things that you've lost? Sarah says her sanity. That there is the answer of a mother of young children. It has to be. Carol says no carol sings, but we do have Santas visiting all the streets, a local round table. I don't think it's the real one, Carol. I don't want to ruin it, but I really don't. And then I thought, well, basically, based on Halloween, all of the traditions that surround this, and for, I guess, the Celtic people, sort of 2,000 years ago, it had a genuine sort of purpose and genuine feel around it. So on that basis, what are those things that we've, that somebody could say, oh, you lost this, here you go, I found it for you. What are the things that you would like to find, and maybe what can we do to get them back? Because perhaps there is a sense of Halloween getting carried away and it now becoming this ridiculous commercial thing with so much waste, so much throwaway consumable stuff, so much plastic stuff in the shops surrounding it. And I wonder what the draw is, what the change is that we can create in that movement around these, of course nobody wants to be wasteful, you get carried away with it, but they do end up being quite a wasteful experience, right? So I would be interested to hear your thoughts on that. But also, I do want to know what you're doing with all the internal bits of the pumpkin. This is so good, gang, like really good. I love that something so lovely can just look a little kooky and Halloweeny as well. So I don't want to waste the inside of this. So if you've got a top tip pumpkin pie, or an amazing recipe for pumpkin soup, then please come, share that with me. Oh, great answer, Kath. But we've lost, and wouldn't it be great to get back close-knit communities? Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, how social media and our ability to interact all over the world actually has, in some ways, kind of made us further apart. Close-knit communities would be a really good thing. Yeah, gosh, that's been quite poignant and thoughtful for me. But anyway, next week, by the way, I'm doing a houseplant special. Thanks to Jim for the idea around that. I get actually lots of questions about what are the houseplants and why are they together, and have I particularly positioned certain ones in certain ways. So Jim said, wouldn't it be really nice to do the houseplant special? Show us around some of your favourite houseplants. I'll show you a kind of warts and all thing, because I've become quite well known for houseplants because I collect them. But actually, it hasn't always been successful. And there are a few that have died, a few that are just recovering, a few that I absolutely refuse to give up on. We've got mealybug, that seems to be a constant problem. But there are reasons why I've grouped some of them together. This behind me is a microclimate. They're intentionally there, quite close together for particular reasons. But I started crawling them up the walls and trailing them and stuff. So next week, we can do a little handy cam trip around the house to show you some of my favourites. Give you some houseplant care techniques as well, and some places that you can get them. One of them's in Bath, and I keep telling you, you need to get yourself up to Bath. It's such a gorgeous city. Day trip. Oh, that would be it, wouldn't it? For weeks we've been saying, we should get together and do like an Elevenses live or blah, blah, blah. We could pick a place and a date and a time and all kind of meet up for tea and cake and Elevenses live. That'd be flipping awesome, wouldn't it? Oh, gang, I might plan that. That sounds really, really good fun. In January, we're doing a very fun little road trip thing. I'll tell you more about that nearer the time. But maybe there's another road trip. I don't know what else to do with this. Do you think it needs eyes? I sort of don't want scary eyes. Oh, I know what I could do. I could do like one big and one little eye, so it's fun. I'm not really into scary things. Excuse me. I think that's why I have a bit of a nut cough. I've noticed that every time I eat nuts, I get like a tickly sort of cough and a bit coffee afterwards. They seem to not like me. Maybe I have a little allergy, I don't know. Keep watching for when Jez has a severe allergic reaction to a nuts live on a Sunday morning as he streams. But, so I'm going to cut this sort of, circle that's not really a circle. Always cut away from, do you know what my grandma used to do all the time? She used to cut the skin off of apples. She'd quarter an apple, cut the skin off of it, but she'd always sort of cut towards herself like that with a paring knife like this. It used to drive my mum absolutely mad. Oh, that's quite cute. Now, isn't that funny how that looks a little bit scary because it is a bit angled like that? Lucy says, tea cake and buying plants, my favourite thing. Absolutely, yeah. So that's next week anyway, the houseplant special. If you have a particular houseplant related question that you'd like me to answer next week and make a feature of the show before we go live, then let me know, because it's difficult sometimes when I've got stuff planned to do it when you pop up in the questions there and fit everything else in as well. But I'm quite enjoying this in a secret thing. I just don't like scary things, so Halloween isn't really for me. I don't like horror films, I don't like violence, I will switch off films. We watched years ago, is it 13 Years a Slave, 12 Years a Slave, something like that? And I could only watch, the first kind of quarter of the film when it started to get like deeply racist. It upset me so much that I just couldn't do it. So I'm a bit soppy when it comes to films and stuff like that, and particularly scary stuff. So scary stuff is not my thing. I can understand why people like it, and they like the thrill of being scared. But I'm just going to poke out this other eye. But isn't it? Oh, I quite like it now. Look, it's coming together. It's got that kind of kooky kind of, look about it. I'm going to do his other eye. Do you know what it reminds me of? Now I've done this. This reminds me of, do you remember The Wizard of Oz? It was the second one, I think. One of the other Wizard of Oz's where they had the pumpkin guy and they went on like a little trip and stuff. Oh, I'm really loving this. It's quite fun, isn't it? I'm going to get back in there as well. Lucy says hocus pocus every time. Yeah, I suppose so. That's that last bit of cake. Gang. Utterly flipping gorgeous. By the way, if you've not already, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And there's a little bell, a little notification bell If you hit that, it will let you know every single time there's a new video. I'm uploading videos every single week, sometimes every single day. The latest one about travel, you must take a little look at. It's my top 9, I think, travel tips based on traveling all the way around the world. So there you go, you must do that. Now, Mark says, before we go, top tip, if you're thinking about doing any of this, if you soak the pumpkin in water, it starts to look a bit soft, it will plump up again. So after kind of, I suppose, a few days or a week or so of this being exposed to the air, looking a little bit terrible, given that it's just like a courgette and any other squash, it's mostly water. Dunk it in some water, leave it there. It will reabsorb that water through the cells, which will fluff up the cells and look at lovely book as well. So yes, Carol, definitely socks. So there you go, gang. It is absolutely wonderful to be here today and sharing my little Halloween special with you. I was going to dress up. I know you wanted me to dress up, but I haven't. So, you know, next time. So houseplants for next time. Have the most amazing Sunday. And here's my little, I don't know, little thing to leave you with this Sunday and for the rest of this week. And that's this. If there's something that you think of that you really, really miss, something that you want back in your life, and you look back and think, you know, if someone gave me that box and inside that box was X, could have been a relationship with somebody, could have been interaction with someone. The second thing to think about is that lamenting things that are no longer here, or that we want to still be here, is a really important thing, but actually seeking to try and find a way to get them back, if they can be got back, is just as important too. You're absolutely in control of the things that we have and the things that we don't have, largely. So that's the second thought. I wonder, what else you should do? Right, do you know what I might do is pop a little bit of elastic on this, go out about the town. Have a lovely week, everybody. Take care of yourself, be kind. See you soon. Hey, happy Sunday. Nothing like a hot cup of tea